No.
Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjalashalakhaya Chakshurumritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurvani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advait Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. All right. So we'll start from where we left off, but we'll start with the Bhagavatam verse as usual. So I'm sharing on the screen verse number 7131. Okay, so you'll have to allow me to share on the screen.
Hare Krishna.
Premanjali Mataji, can you please make Prabhuji as the co-host?
And how do I do that, Prabhu?
Click on his name and then you'll find the option to make a co-host.
Okay,
On the
Prabhu.
left icon. On
Done,
his
done,
yeah.
Prabhu, done.
Yeah, welcome Mataji. Correct.
Thank you so much. Yes, Prabhu, you are a co-host now, so you can.
Yep. Okay, thanks. All right. So reading from 7th canto, 1st chapter, verse number 31. This is a very famous verse. Gopya kamad bhayat kamso devas chaidya dayo nipa sambandhad vishnaya snehad yuyam bhaktya vayam vibho. Synonyms: Gopya, the gopis, kamat, out of lusty desires, bhayat, out of fear, kamsa, king, comes, veshat, out of envy, Chaidya, Adaya, Shishupal and others, Nipa, kings, Sambandhat, out of kinship, Vishnaya, the Vrishnis or the Yadavas, Snehat, out of affection, Yuyam, you the Pandavas, Bhaktya, by devotional service, Vayam, we, Bibo, O great king. Translation: My dear King Yudhishthir, the gopis by their lusty desires, Kamsa by his fear, Shishupal and other kings by envy, the Yadus by their familiar relationship with Krishna, you Pandavas by your great affection for Krishna, and we, the general devotees, by our devotional service, have obtained the mercy of Krishna. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Different persons achieve different types of mukti, sayujya, salokya, sarupya, samipya, and sashti, according to their own intense desire, which is called bhav. Thus, it is described here that the gopis, by their lusty desires, which was based upon their intense love for Krishna, became the most beloved devotees of the Lord. Although the gopis at Vrindavan expressed their lusty desires in relationship with a paramour, Parakiya Rasa, they actually had no lusty desires. This is significant of spiritual advancement. Their desires appeared lusty, but actually they were not the lusty desires of the material world. Chaitanya Charitamrita compares the desires of the spiritual and material world to gold and iron. Both gold and iron are metal, but there is a vast difference in their value. The lusty desires of the gopis for Krishna are compared to gold, and the material lusty desires are compared to iron. Comes and other enemies of Krishna merge into the existence of Brahman. But why should Krishna's friends and devotees have the same position? Krishna's devotees attain the association of the Lord as his constant companions, either in Vrindavan or in the Vaikuntha planets. Similarly, although Narad Muni wanders in the three worlds, he has exalted devotion for Narayan, Aishwarya Man. The Vishnus and the Yadus and the father and the mother of Krishna in Vrindavan all have familiar relationships with Krishna. Krishna's foster father and mother in Vrindavan, however, are more exalted than Vasudev and Devaki. Okay. Okay. So till last time, what we discussed is about we were trying to decode the Parakiya relationship of the Lord with the gopis, and I don't know if many of you remember last time class, but just to brief you, we had discussed about who are these gopis and who are the husband of the gopis. So we did find out from Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Jaiv Dharma that these husbands, they were not ordinary husband, they were actually expansion of Yoga Maya. So basically, the gopis of Vrindavan, especially those who are married to other than Krishna and those who are exchanging Parakiya Rasa with the Lord, so they have, in one sense, they are not exactly, as Prabhupada also stated in the purport, that they do not have lusty desire, because lust desires, it causes one to enjoy sense gratification. Because when we associate with the person, then we physically become intimate to the person and then we enjoy each other's senses. But this is not the case with the spiritual world. So spiritual world is totally reverse. It is all like thinking about the pleasure of the beloved. It is not thinking of our own sense gratification. So that is the first basic principle. And these gopis, so now there are two aspects. One is the Parakiya relationship in the material world when Krishna is coming to Bhoma Vrindavan, and that place is called as Gokul. And then Krishna is having Parakiya relationship in his spiritual abode, which is called Golok. So these are two different words which are used in the material realm as well as the spiritual realm. That we have understood. And now the question is that whether Parakiya Rasa is existing only in material world or in spiritual world. And I think we have gone through the principles that the Parakiya Rasa is eternal, not just in Gokul, in Bhoma Vrindavan, but it's also in the spiritual world. And how it is eternal, that also we discussed. And we said that the gopis, it is their mental conception. So in the material world, these husbands, they are all expansions of Yoga Maya. And actually, in reality, the husbands of the gopis, they are actually the expansions of the Parodha Abhiman of the gopis in the spiritual world. So I would definitely recommend, if some devotees are new to this class, then if they can refer to the previous class. So whatever we desire in the spiritual world, it is all reality, because in the material world we may desire something, or we may think of something, we may think of some concept, but it is not fulfilled. It can only remain within our minds. But in the spiritual world, everything is fulfilled by the unlimited unconceivable potency of the Lord. So even dreams or any kind of thought that you have in the spiritual world is actually fulfilled. Okay. So now this, although in the spiritual world, the relationship is, see, Krishna is basically the owner of everyone. So we know that, because if you consider from the tattva point of view, then the gopis, they're all part and parcel, they're internal energy of the Lord. So they're not different from the Lord. They're Krishna's own internal energy. In that sense, they're all one. They are not like different. But from the point of view of lila, the Lord is expanding himself in form of Radharani and the gopi, and then Radharani further expands in her kaya view form as the gopis, right? So in the spiritual world, when because the Lord owns everyone, that's why he is not able to enjoy this Parakiya Rasa, because he thinks that everyone belongs to me. So in that sense, the gopis are actually married to Krishna, because they all belong to him. He's the husband, natural husband of all the gopis. But then if he wants to enjoy more intimate relationship with the gopis, then how can he do that? So in order to do that, what he does is basically the gopis, he will arrange Yogama in such a way that the gopis, they start thinking that they are wives of other men. Okay. And these men, now this is their conception in the spiritual world. This is what they think, although it is not like that. So basically, the Parikiya and the Swakiya Ras exist simultaneously in the spiritual world. That we need to understand. Ultimately, everything is resolved in Swakiya in one sense, because they are naturally, we are all eternally fragmental parts and parcel of the Lord, right? So that way, energy can never be separated from Lord. But from the Leela point of view, the gopis, they think that they are wives of other men. So now, just by the thought, there is a manifestation of the Parakiya Rasa, which means that it is Paroda Abhiman. Paroda means belonging to someone else. And this is what is my identity. Abhiman means ego. And ego, there are two types of ego. One is false ego, one is pure ego. So pure ego means that you are Krishna's servant. You identify yourself as belonging to Krishna. And false ego is that you identify that you are the body uh, and you are not the soul. So you basically get attached to the material world. So now this Paroda Abhiman, this Abhiman or this thought of being someone else's wife is there in the spiritual world. And because that perception is there in the spiritual world, and because spiritual world is inconceivable, it is like, it can fulfill the desires of all the devotees. That's why this thought, mere thought, will manifest in the form of Parakiya Rasa in the spiritual world. But when it comes in the material world, then this Paroda Abhiman means that, thinking that, okay, Radharani thinks that, okay, I am wife of Abhimanyu. Then Lalita will think that I am wife of this. So Chandravali thinks that I am wife of this particular Gopa. So that thought process manifests in physical forms in the material world. Okay. So that is what we have discussed till now. And these are all, the husbands are all manifestation of that Abhiman, the expansion of that Abhiman. And who does that? Everything is executed by the Yogamaya arrangement of the Lord in the material world. Okay. So that we discussed. And then we also discussed that how Swakiya and Parakiya, they are eternally there in the material and the spiritual world. And then we also discussed about Jeev Goswami's apparent contradiction of saying that everything is resolved in Swakiya Rasa, and that Parakiya Rasa does not have eternality because everything resolves in Swakiya. So then our Acharyas, Srila Prabhupada and then Bhaktivinoda Thakur also, via this Jai Dharma, they both established that Jeev Goswami actually had disciples who were not in favor of Parakiya Rasa. And that's why he wrote certain things encouraging them in Swakiya Rasa. But ultimately, even Jeev Goswami, being a follower of Rupa Goswami, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he has 100% conviction that Parakiya Rasa is eternal in the spiritual world. So this is all we have discussed till now. And then we also, I think, I'm not sure, we also probably discussed about the nature of there are two types of gopis in Parakiya Rasa. One is one who has got their husbands other than Krishna, and one who has not got married till now. So basically, later on they actually become Krishna's wives. But our acharyas explain that because that marriage happens in a Gandharva style of arrangement, that's why the relationship can be perceived as Parakiya, because it is a secret marriage. So that sense, it can be perceived as Parakiya. So basically, in the spiritual world, the Parakiya Rasa exists in its fullest form in Goloka. Okay, and the same thing happens in material world also. Now we'll also discuss something about Gauna Sambhog. So basically, there are two types of Sambhog. So I would like to elaborate something more on how the perception becomes a reality. Okay, and that we'll see. So that's why I'm sharing this concept of Gauna Sambhog. Now there are two types of Sambhog. One is Mukhya Sambhog and one is Gauna Sambhog. Now Mukhya Sambhog means physically you are able to meet Krishna. All the gopis, the Vrajvasis, they are able to meet Krishna. But then what is Gauna Sambhog? Gauna Sambhog is secondary type of meeting, which basically means that you don't meet Krishna physically, but you perceive that you have met Krishna. So it can be in the form of dream, or it can be in the form of, basically it is in the form of daydreaming, or it is in the form of when you go for sleep and then you have some dreams. So meeting Krishna in the form of dreams or in the form of some sort of thought, that is called as Gauna Sambhog. Okay. So let's go ahead and I will read from the Jaiv Dharma. So as usual, there is a conversation between disciple and the Guru. The disciple is known as Vijay Kumar and Guru is Gopal Guru Goswami. Okay. So now Vijay Kumar is asking Gopal Guru Goswami, so could we go into the subject of Gauna Sambhog? And Gopal Guru Goswami says, Sambhog in the dream state, when Krishna appears and performs special suitable pastimes, is known as Gaun Sambhog. The dreams are of two kinds. One is Samanya, general, and other is Vishesh, significant or special. Hence, Gaun Sambhog is also of two corresponding kinds. So dreams are of two types. One is Samanya, general, and then one is special or Vishesh. And similarly, the Gaun Sambhog also is two types. So the dreams of Krishna that occur when the Vyabhichari bhav of Nidra is prominent are in this context referred to as Samanya, general, usual. Okay, now what is Vyabhichari bhav? So, see, basically, if you want to attain ras with the Lord, now when we talk about rasa with the Lord, so there is Shantaras, there is Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. So ras basically it actually includes the sthayi bhav, and then it also includes the Vyabhichari bhavs, it includes the sattvic bhavs, it also includes vibhav, and then it also includes Vyabhichari, sattvic, vibhav. Yeah, so these bhavs, and of course there are the secondary bhavs, which are actually part of the Vyabhichari bhav, but they are identified because they stay for a longer period of time. So it is also put in the category of the secondary sthayi bhavs. So now what are all these, what is this concept of different types of bhav? Okay, so first thing is that what is vibhav? Because see, when there is vibhav, then only all these other bhavs will manifest. So vibhav means there are two parts of vibhav. One is Vishay and one is Ashray, and second is Alamban. Now, Vishay means to whom your love is directed to. So it is obvious it is directed to Krishna. And Ashray means who is the shelter of the love towards Krishna. So obviously that means the Ashrays are the devotees. Okay. So without Vibhav, there is no question of manifestation of different forms of Bhav. And Sthayi Bhav, so now what is Sthayi Bhav? Sthayi Bhav is basically your permanent mellow with the Lord. Like for example, you have got Shantarati or you got Dasya Rati for the Lord. So Rati is basically Bhav. Okay. And Bhav is one step below Prema. Now generally Prema means you have got these Sthayi Bhav plus all these different Vibhavs, Anubhavs, Sattvic Bhavs, Vyabhichari Bhavs. Okay. That will that is known as Prema. So Prema equals everything. It includes everything. Whereas Rasa also means the same thing. It also includes all these Sthayi Bhav, Vibhav, Vyabhichari Bhav, Anubhavs, everything together. So now Sthayi Bhav means you identify yourself that you have a particular relationship with Krishna, and that becomes permanent. It does not change. So ideally that is called as Sthayi Bhav. Okay. So let's say if you have got Shantarati for the Lord or Dasyarati for the Lord. So that is fixed. Like you are the servant of the Lord, you identify that in Braj. Okay. Now, to whom that love is directed, of course, that is Krishna. And you are the shelter of that love, Ashray. So that is called Vibhav. And then Vibhav is another component which is called Alamban. Now there is the Udipan Alamban, which is basically when you love the Vishay, which is Krishna, when the devotees love Vishay, the object of love is Krishna. So what characteristics of the Lord will make their love intensify? Or there are certain things that will agitate that love. So those things are called as Udipan. Udipan, like for example, if you see Krishna's, or let's say if you see a peacock, so then that peacock will actually make you remember of Krishna very intensely. Or if you see yellow color, or if you see blue color, or if you see a tamal tree, or you see the flute of Krishna, or you hear the flute of Krishna. So these are all components of Udipan, something that makes you remember of Krishna, and that will agitate your bhav. So you will feel ecstatic bliss by that. So that is called, basically that comes in the category of Vibhav. Okay. And then Alamban has got Vishay Ashray as well as Udipan. These two components are there of Alamban. This is Vibhav. Then, of course, when you know that you love someone, then what will happen? You will be experiencing certain emotions or ecstatic symptoms. So now these ecstatic symptoms are in two categories. One is Anubhav and one is Sattvic Bhav. Now, anubhav means that, for example, let's say if you are eating a pizza and you eat the pizza and you love it, you love the taste, then naturally your expressions and everything will change. Like you will smile, you will, probably shake your head, or you will enlarge your eyes. So these are the physical symptoms that you actually can perceive in a devotee, and that is called as um, anubhav. Okay, this so it's basically a voluntary response to the uh, action that has taken place. So, like for example, you see the Lord, you play with the Lord, and then you experience certain symptoms. So basically, like for example, you get engaged in the pastime of the Lord, and then there is a humorous pastime, and then you laugh in the pastime. So that laughing is an external action. It's a voluntary action. It is called as, it comes in the category of anubhav. Now there are certain symptoms that generates purely due to emotion that is not under your control, and that ecstatic symptoms are called as sattvic bhavs, and these are eight ashta sattvic vichar, if you have heard about it. So like for example, the tears constantly coming from the eyes, then hair standing on end, then the body is compressed, enlarged like that, and the body color changes. So these are all something that you cannot physically control. It's not voluntarily, it because generates because of emotion, internal emotions takes place, and that will result in ashta sattvic bhav. So that is sattvic bhav. So this is called vibhav, anubhav, sattvic bhav, and now vyabhichari bhav. So now there are 33 forms of vyabhichari bhavs, and like for example, the secondary rasa, if you remember, hasya ras, then there is the bhayanak ras, bibhatsa ras. So these are all different forms of reactions that happens because you get involved in the pastimes of the Lord, and these are temporary. That's why it is called as vyabhichari or transitory. Okay. Um, so one thing we need to understand that those certain emotions that occur because of this natural involvement in the pastimes of Lord, so they stay. Some of them they are permanent, and that those permanent are the rasas, the five rasas, the mukhya ras, which is Shanta Dasya Sakyava. So basically, it's only one ras for a particular devotee. They may be in one of these rasas. Okay, and then there are the other seven primary secondary rasas, right? So these are part of Vyabhichari Bhav, but because they stay for a good amount of time, that's why they are actually in the category of the secondary rasas. Okay, they are called as secondary rasas. So Vyabhichari Bhavs basically means this, that you experience all these 33 emotions with the Lord. So coming to the context. So now what happens when the devotees, especially the gopis, they dream about Krishna. When they dream about Krishna when they are asleep, so the Vyabhichari Bhava of Nidra is prominent, then it is called as Samanya or general in nature. However, the distinguishing feature of Vishesh Sambhog is that the distant visions of Krishna that it affords fully evokes Thai Bhav and all the Sanchari Bhavs. Sanchari Bhav is also called as Vyabhichari Bhav or transitory emotions related to the Sambhog of the Jagrat, the awakened state. So what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is conveying is that the speciality of Vishesh Gaun Sambhog is that especially one is when one is awake, but one starts daydreaming. And in that daydreaming, one realizes that the experience of being with Krishna is the same as physically meeting him. And that is why it is called as Vishesh Gaun Sambhog or Vishesh special type of dream. Okay, because you get an experience where you feel that Krishna is present with you and he is also enacting pastimes with you. So there is no difference in the awakened state and the daydreaming state. So this is called as Vishesh Sambhog. So because why this experience is the same? Because when there is a meeting, physical meeting between Krishna and the gopis, that time all these bhavas they manifest, and the same thing happens when there is a meeting in the daydreaming condition. and that's why it is equated. So this is the reason I had to explain you something about these different forms of vows. Okay. So this indicates an extraordinary parallel between Vishesh Sambhog and Jagrat Sambhog. So what is Jagrat Sambhog? Jagrat Sambhog is when you have physical association with Krishna when you are awake. Okay. Moreover, just like Mukhya Sambhog, the visions of Krishna in Vishesh Sambhog have the same four division. So Sankshipt, brief, Sankirna, constricted, Sampanna, enhanced, and Samriddhiman, very opulent. So basically, there are four types of sambhog with the Lord, or union with the Lord, and these are brief, constricted, enhanced, and very opulent. So depending based on the timing, how much time the association they have of Krishna. So these are the four divisions. We don't have to go into the detail of that, but the point is that the feeling of daydreaming and having association of Krishna is almost the same as having physical association of Krishna when we are awake. So this is what is meant. Now why did I share this? Because I wanted to explain to you that what exactly happens when there is a thought in the spiritual world, or when there is a conception in the spiritual world. So this is how we'll actually be able to understand. Okay, now Vijay, he's asking, this point is a little confusing. In a dream, there is practically no actual reality. Therefore, how can the spiritual fulfillment experience in this secondary state be almost equivalent to the principal Mukhya Samriddman Sambhog? So what he's asking is that dream, till now we have never experienced that in dreams. When we see a dream, then the experience is temporary, and once you come out of the dream, then you feel that it was all fake, it was all illusion, right? But now, so he's asking the same question here also. So Goswami, he answers, on the spiritual plane, the vision during swapna, the sleeping state, and the meeting during jagrat, the awakened state, are virtually identical in nature. An appropriate example. So now see, he is saying that both experiences are same. Now he will give some examples from our scriptures. So for example, an appropriate example is the case of Usha and Aniruddha. So if you have read the Krishna book, or you have read the 10th canto of Bhagavatam, then this example will actually satisfy your query or your confusion. Okay. So Usha was in her quarters inside Banasu's palace in Sunitapur, dreaming of enjoying the embrace of Aniruddha, who was at the same time far away in Dwarka, himself also dreaming of enjoying with Usha. The exact same thing occurs to Krishna and his beloved gopis. This is, of course, not possible for conditioned souls to experience. The direct and tangible proof of this is that when transcendental liberated devotees receive ornaments and such in their wondrous dreams, they still possess them upon awakening. So, see, another example he is giving is that, there are some devotees who have, by their smaranam, practice of smaranam, they serve the Lord because they are not able to physically serve the Lord. So they serve the Lord in their mental state, and then they got the result of that. Like, for example, here it is stated that the Lord was pleased with them, and then the Lord probably gave them their own ornaments. And then when they opened their eyes, they came to the awakened state. Then they realized they had the ornament with them. So there are many examples in Gaur Leela also where this thing has happened. So whenever the Lord is there and the devotees, fully liberated devotees are there, so such kind of pastimes are all possible. So in the spiritual platform, all these things are possible. Okay. So thus, the swapna, visionary dreaming of transcendence, is of two varieties. Jagraya mana swapna, the meeting through vision while one is dreaming, whilst asleep, and swapna ya mana jagra, the meeting through vision while one is daydreaming, whilst awake. The fourth stage in yogic perfection is samadhi, total absorption. However, the gopis have superseded even this state of consciousness by attaining the fifth level known as prema. Their dreams have nothing in common with ordinary dreams that are mundane by nature and fictitious, being constructed by the triple gunas of the Maya Shakti. The dreams of the gopis belonging to the realm of absolute reality are supramundane and transcendental. Thus, Krishna's lilas are so wonderful and unique that even through a kaleidoscope of dreams, which may even be punctuated with Mahabhav, he gives actual pleasure to his beloved gopi lovers. Yeah, so this is what they are trying to convey, that the dreams in spiritual realm, they are all realities and actually it happens. Okay, so there is no question of not manifestation of the dreams, they happen in reality. And the examples are also given from Krishna's pastime in the Boma of Vrindavan planet. Okay, so now I would like to share a wonderful commentary by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur to the Brahma Samhita verse number 5.37. So this will also help you to understand a little bit further. Also, I think it's a summary of what we discussed till now. So kindly be very attentive. According to Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, all those pastimes that have been visible in Gokul exist in all purity and free from all tinge of limitation in Golok. So transcendental autocratic paramourship also exists in Golok in inconceivable purity, judged by the same standard and reasoning. All manifestation by the Chit potency, Yogamaya or pure. So, as the above paramourship is the creation of Yogamaya, it is necessary free from all contamination and appetence to the absolute reality. Let us pause to consider what the absolute reality is in himself. Srila Rupa Goswami says, Purvakta Sarata. In regard to these slokas, Sripad Jeev Goswami, after mature deliberation, has established the transcendental paramourship as Vibramma Vilas, something seemingly different from what it appears to be. Such are the pastimes of birth, etc., accomplished by Yogamaya. By the explanation, Tathapi Vraj Vanitanam, Srila Jeev Goswami has expressed his profound implication. Joyous pastimes by the medium of seeming error, Vibram Vilas, as the contrivance of Yogamaya, has also been admitted in the concluding statements of Srila Rupa and Sanatana Goswami. Still, since Sripad Jeev Goswami has established the identity of Golok with Gokul, it must be admitted that there is transcendental reality underlying all pastimes of Gokul. A husband is one who binds oneself in wedlock with a girl, while a paramour is one who, in order to win another's wife's love by means of love, crosses the conventions of morality by the impulse of the sentiments that regards her love as the be-all and end-all of existence. In Golok, there is no such function at all as that of the nuptial relationship. Hence, there is no husbandhood characterized by such connection. On the other hand, since the gopis who are self-supported, real entities are not tied to anybody else in wedlock, they cannot also have the state of concubinage. So there can also be no separate entities in the forms of Swakiya and Parakiya states. In the visible pastimes on the mundane plane, the function in the form of nuptial relationship is found to exist. Krishna is beyond the scope of that function. Hence, the said function of the circle of all love is contrived by Yogamaya. Krishna tastes the transcendental rasa akin to paramourship by overstepping that function. This pastime of going beyond the pale of the apparent moral function manifested by Yogamaya is, however, also observable only on the mundane plane by the eye that is enwrapped by the mundane covering. But there is really no such levity in the pastimes of Krishna. The rasa of paramourship is certainly the extracted essence of all the rasas. If it be said that it does not exist in Golok, it would be highly deprecatory to Golok. It is not the fact that there is no supremely wholesome tasting of ras in the supremely excellent realm of Golok. Krishna, the fountainhead of all avatars, tastes the same in a distinct form in Golok and in another distinct form in Gokul. So basically, see, what he's trying to convey is that uh, uh, if one says that in Gokul this relationship can exist, but not in Goloka, in the spiritual world, because everything is moral there. But of course, when we decide what is moral, what is immoral, that is again according to our limited conditioned mind and thought, right? But the spiritual world is completely beyond all these things, and it is the spiritual world is unlimited, so it needs to experience all these emotions, whatever is there in the material world. The spiritual world does that in much more greater intensity. Okay, so if Parakiya Rasa does not exist in spiritual world, then Krishna cannot experience the challenges, the evolvement of love that are part and parcel of this type of love in Parakiya Rasa, because there are a lot of obstacles, challenges, and that creates a lot of anxiety, that creates a lot of freshness in the relationship. Like one thing we can clearly experience, that when in the material world we get married to a partner, after some time we get bored, and then probably we separate also. Or even if we stay together, but then we take it for granted, the relationship does not become very intimate, or it does not have new fresh challenges, or some kind of adventures. So that in order to preserve all these kind of emotions, the Lord wants to experience these emotions in the spiritual world also. That's why it is simultaneously there in the Golok also. So, so therefore, in spite of the seeming appearance to the mundane eye of outstepping the bounds of the legitimate function by the form of paramourship, there must be present the truth of it in some form, even in Goloka. Atmaramo api ariramat atmani avaruddha saurata reme vraj sundari bir yatharbaka pratibimba vibrama. So these and other texts of the scriptures go to show that self-delightedness is the essential distinctive quality of Krishna himself. Krishna, in his majestic Chit realm, causes the manifestation of his own Chit potency as Lakshmi and enjoys her as his own wedded consort. As this feeling of wedded consorthood preponderates there, Ras expands in a wholesome form only up to the state of servanthood, Dasya. But in Golok, he divides up his Chit potency into thousands of gopis and eternally engages in amorous pastimes with them by forgetting the sentiments of ownership. By the sentiments of ownership, there cannot be the extreme inaccessibility of the rasa. So the gopis have naturally, from eternity, the innate sentiment of being others' wedded wives. So the same thing that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is conveying to Jai Dharma, basically, the gopis eternally have this conception that they belong to someone else. They are not married to Krishna. That's eternal. Okay. So Krishna too, in response to that sentiment, by assuming the reciprocal sentiment of paramourship, performs the rasa and the other amorous pastimes with the aid of the flute, his favorite chair Emi. Golok is the transcendental seat of eternally self-realized ras beyond limited conception. Hence, in Golok, there is realization of the sentimental assumption of the rasa of paramourship. Again, such is the nature of the principle of the majesty that in the realm of Vaikuntha, there is no rasa of parental affection towards the source of all avatars. So one knows very clearly that in Vaikuntha, this is the feeling that the Lord actually misses very much. And that is the feeling of having parents in the Vaikuntha. Because everything is covered by Aishwarya Bhav. That's why there is only the servant relationship with Lord in Vaikuntha. And that's why we have parents in the spiritual world also. But in Golok, the seat of all super excellent deliciousness, there is no more than the original sentimental, egoistic assumption of the same ras. So just like the gopis are thinking that we are married to someone else, so similarly now the question is that this is another example that Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur is actually sharing, and that is the example of Nand Maharaj and Yashoda Maiya. Now, although there is birth of Krishna in the material world, we see that Krishna appears from the first he appears in the mind of Vasudeva, then from there he's transferred to mind of Devki, and then from the heart, and then from the womb. Finally, Krishna appears in the four-headed form. right? Of course, there's no physical intimacy and there's no procreation of child. So Krishna appears on his own via the instrument of Vasudeva and Devki. But then we say that, okay, Krishna took birth, he just appeared. And then later on, he also shows his different ages as he goes with time, right? So there is the concept of birth, and there's the concept of course, death. We cannot say death for the Lord, but there's the disappearance of Lord, which actually happened in the material world, right? And then there is the continuation of his age, the growth of his age, right? So these things are all there in the material world. But actually, if you see, just like the gopis, they think that, okay, Krishna, I am someone else's wife. So similarly, Yashoda Maya and Devki, Yashoda Maya, Nand Maharaj, Devki, Vasudev, they feel that they have given birth to Krishna. So that's a conception. Okay, although it has not taken place in the spiritual world like that. So at some point of time they have given birth to Krishna, but because the eternal form of Krishna in the spiritual world is the youthful form, the most attractive and the most prominent form is the youthful form, Kaishor age. So that's why it is just a thought and it just goes away. Okay, so like that, similarly, there is a conception of the gopis that they belong to someone else. Okay, and that is manifested like that. So this conception in the spiritual world manifests in the form of material world when Krishna actually takes birth from Vasudeva and Devki. So there Nand Maharaj and Yashoda are visibly present, but there is no occurrence of birth. For want of the occurrence of birth, the assumed egoistic sentiment of parental affection of Nanda and Yashoda has no foundation in the actual existence of such entities as father and mother. Because we say that Krishna is eternal and we say that the devotees are eternal. So where is the question of taking birth, right? So that concept is existing in the spiritual world. So it has got no foundation in actual existence of such entities as father and mother, but it is of the nature of sentimental assumption on their parts. Jayati Jananivaso Devaki Janamavada. So this is the sloka from the Bhagavatam. For the purpose of the realization of the ras, the assumed egoistic sentiment is, however, eternal. So this sentiment is eternal. Thinking that, okay, Krishna took birth from me is eternal. Thinking that I am someone else's wife, that thinking is eternal. In the rust of amorous love, if the corresponding egoistic sentiments of concubinage and paramourship be mere eternal assumptions, there is nothing to blame in them, and it also does not go against the scriptures. So what he's trying to convey is that, okay, even if someone does think that Parakiya Rasa is immoral, then also we can say that, okay, that is just a conception. It is not like, it's not there physically, just to satisfy them. Although we know that that conception manifests into reality. So that way, dharma is also established. When those transcendental entities of Golok becomes manifest in Braj, then those two egoistic sentiments become somewhat more palpable to the mundane view in the phenomenal world, and there comes to be this much difference only. In the rust of parental affection, the sentiments of Nanda Yashoda that they are parents becomes manifest in the more tangible form in the pastimes of birth, etc. So in the material world, this actually manifests in physical reality. And of course, when we are talking about physical realm or reality, it only refers to those who are able to see with their material eyes. So basically in the material world, with their mundane eyes, they are able to see all these things. Otherwise, for liberated souls, everything is happening in reality just by their conception. Okay. Okay. So in the rust of parental affection, the sentiments of Nanda and Yashoda that their parents becomes manifest in a more tangible form in the pastimes of birth, etc. And in the amorous rust, the corresponding sentiments of concubinage in the respective gopis become manifest in the form of their marriages with Abhimanyu, Govardhan, etc. Abhimanyu is the wife, the husband of Radharani, and Govardhan is the husband of Chandravali. In reality, there is no such separate entity as husbandhood of the gopis, either in Goloka or in Gokul. So one thing also we need to understand that Who is Abhimanyu? Abhimanyu is the shadow of Krishna, is the expansion of Krishna. And similarly, Govardhan also is expansion of the Lord, because they are all expansion of the Yogamaya. Or you can say, in other words, they are all expansions of this egoistic sentiment that we belong to, we are married to someone else. So that ego manifests in the form of physical appearance of all these personalities. Okay. So in reality, okay, hence the Shastra declare that there is no sexual union of the gopis with their husbands. It is also for the same reason that the authorized teacher of the principle of Ras, Srila Rupa Goswami, writes that in the transcendental amorous Ras, the hero is of two different types: the wedded husband and the paramour patis. Okay, so Srila Jiva Goswami in his commentary, by his words, Pati Pura Vanitanam Dvitiyo Vraj Vanitanam acknowledges the eternal paramourship of Krishna in Golok and Gokul, and the husbandhood of Krishna in Vaikuntha and Dwarka, etc. So, even if you see from the material point of view, the gopis, they left their husband and then they all ran and they participated in Krishna's pastimes in the Raslila. So what actually happened, and we will also further discuss this elaborately when we go through the commentary of Srila Vishnu Prakavur. But in brief, what I can say is that the gopis actually, they had two bodies. One is the spiritual body and one is material body. So in the spiritual body actually, so the yoga Maya arranged in such a way that the gopis replicated their bodies, and one was spiritual. That spiritual body went to Raslila, and the material body stayed with their husbands. And again, we need to bring this point that the husbands are also expansion of Krishna or the yoga Maya, right? So nothing, there is no question of adharma. In the Lord of Golok and the Lord of Gokul, the character of paramourship is found in its complete form. Krishna's deliberate overstepping of his own quality of self-delightedness is caused by the desire of union with another's wedded wife. The state of being another's wedded wife is nothing but the corresponding assumed sentiment on the part of the gopis. In reality, they have no husbands with independent and separate existence. Still, their very egoistic sentiment makes them have the nature of the wedded wives of others. So all the characteristics that desire makes the paramour overstep the bounds of duty, etc., are eternally present in the seat of all deliciousness. In Vraj, that very thing reveals itself to an extent in a more tangible way to persons with mundane eyes. So in Goloka, there is inconceivable distinction and non-distinction between the rasas analogous to mundane concubineship and wifehood. It may be said with equal truth that there is no distinction in Golok between the two, as also that there is such distinction. The essence of paramourship is the cessation of ownership, and the abeyance of ownership is the enjoyment of his own chit potency in the shape of abeyance of paramourship or enjoyment without the sanction of wedlock. So this is Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur. His English is very refined and very advanced, and it's not so easy to understand everything that he conveys. Of course, when you read for the first time, but later on, you'll be able to understand. All right. The conjunction of the two exists there as one ras accommodating both varieties. In Gokul, it is really the same, with the difference that it produces a different impression on observers belonging to the mundane plane. So all this is done, this is manifested in the physical form just for the mundane people. In Govind, the hero of Golok, there exists both husbandhood and paramourship above all piety and impiety, and free from all grossness. Such is also the case with the hero of Gokul, although there is a distinction in realization caused by Yogamaya. If it be urged that what is manifested by Yogamaya is the highest truth, being the creation of the Chit potency, and that therefore the impression of paramourship is also really true, the reply is that there may exist an impression of analogous sentimental egoism in the tasting of ras, free from any offense, because it is not without a basis in truth. But the unwholesome impression that is produced in the mundane judgment is offensive and as such cannot exist in the pure Chit realm. In fact, Sripad Jeev Goswami has come to the true conclusion, and at the same time, the finding of the opposing party is also inconceivably true. It is the vain empirical wranglings about wedded wifehood and concubinage, which is false and full of spacious verbosity. He who goes through the commentaries of Sripad Jeev Goswami and those of the opposing party with an impartial judgment cannot maintain this attitude of protest engendered by any real doubt. What the unalloyed devotee of the Supreme Lord says is all true and is independent of any consideration of unwholesome pros and cons. There is, however, the element of mystery in their verbal controversies. Those whose judgment is made up of mundane stuff, being unable to enter in the spirit of the all-loving controversies among pure devotees, due to their own want of unalloyed devotion, are apt to impute to the devotees their own defects of partisanship and opposing views. Commenting on the sloka of Rasa Panchadhyay, Gopinam Tat Patinam Cha, etc., what Sripad Sanatan Goswami has stated conclusively in his Vaishnav Toshini has been accepted with reverence by the true devotees, Sripad Vishwanath Chakra Thakur, without any protest. So what he's basically saying is that all our acharyas, they are in agreement with this. Although Srila Jiva Goswami may write something in his books, but that is just in order to satisfy the people who cannot appreciate Parakiya Rasa. So whenever any dispute arises regarding the pure cognitive pastimes, such as Golok, we would do well to remember the precious advice from the holy lips of Sriman Mahaprabhu and his associates, the Goswamis, that the absolute truth is ever characterized by spiritual variegatedness that transcends the variegatedness of mundane phenomena. But he is never featureless. The divine rasa is lovely with the variegatedness of the fourfold distinction of Vibhav, Anubhav, Satvik Bhav, and Vyabhichari Bhav, and the ras is ever present in Golok and Vaikuntha. The ras of Golok manifests as Vraj ras on the mundane plane for the benefit of the devotees by the power of Yogamaya. What is observable in Gokul ras should be visible in Golok ras in a clearly explicit form. Hence, the distinction of paramourship and concubinage, the variegatedness of the respective rasas of all different persons, the soil, water, river, hill, portico, bower, cows, etc., all the features of Gokul, they exist in Goloka, disposed in an appropriate manner. There is only this peculiarity that the mundane conceptions of human beings possessed of material judgment regarding those transcendental entities do not exist there. The conception of Golok manifests itself differently in proportion to the degree of realization of the various pastimes of Vraj, and it is very difficult to lay down any definite criteria as to which portions are mundane and which are uncontaminated. The more the eye of devotion is tinged with the salve of love, the more will the transcendental concept gradually manifest itself. Okay, so here also Bhakti Thakur is saying that if devotees, they develop prema for the Lord, their eyes are tinged with love for the Lord, then to the degree we advance in spiritual life, to the degree we progress in the stages of devotion from Shraddha to Prema, to that degree the Lord will actually reveal himself to us. And when the Lord reveals himself, it also means the Dham is revealed to us, the associates are revealed, everything is revealed to us. And of course, the Naam reveals everything. It reveals the Naam, Rup, Guna, Lila, everything. Okay, so if we are at the stage of Bhava and Prem, then we can, even in the material world also, a devotee can spiritualize their senses and then they can actually see what is happening in Goloka. So there is no need of further hypothetical speculation which does not improve one's spiritual appreciation, as the substantive knowledge of Golok is an inconceivable entity. To try to pursue the inconceivable by the conceptual process is like pounding the empty husk of grain, which is sure to have a fruitless ending. It is therefore one's bounden duty, by refraining from the endeavor to know, to try to gain the experience of the transcendental by the practice of pure devotion. Any course, the adoption of which tends to produce the impression of featurelessness, must be shunned by all means. Unalloyed Parakiya Rasa, free from all mundane conception, is a most rare attainment. It is this which has been described in the narrative of the pastimes of Gokul. Those devotees who follow the dictate of their pure spontaneous love should base their devotional endeavors on that narrative. They will attain to the more wholesome fundamental principle on reaching the stage of realization. The devotional activity is characterized by illicit amour, as practiced by worldly minded conditioned souls, or forbidden mundane impiety. The heart of our apostle, Sripad Jiva Goswami, was very much moved by such practices and induced him to give us his conclusive statement on the subject. It is the duty of a pure Vaishnava to accept the real spirit of his statements. It is a great offense to disrespect the Acharya and to seek to establish a different doctrine in opposition to him. So this ends the commentary of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And again, at the end, he's trying to say that ultimately what Jiva Goswami stated is basically according to time place circumstance. It is not something that which was born from his own heart. So his own heart actually believed in Parakiya Rasa, but he just mentioned all these things in order to satiate the devotees who had inclination for Swakiya and they had no appreciation of Parakiya. Okay, so this is the commentary of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Now we'll go through one important verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is 10:33-36. And I'll be sharing the commentary of Srila Sridhar Swami, Vishwanath Thakur, Sanatana Goswami, and Jiva Goswami. Okay, and then there's also, I think, this much we can cover today, but later on in the next part, we can cover more details. Okay. So this, okay, all right. Now, I have selected this verse because it's very relevant and prominent verse connected with the Parakiya Bhava of the gopis. So 10:33-36. Gopinam tatpatinam cha sarvesham eva dehinam yo antascharati so daksha kridanena hai dehabak. So Gopinam of the coward girls, tat patinam of their husbands, cha and sarvesham all, eva without exception. Dehinam of, okay, let me show you the verse actually. 10:33-36. Okay, it's 10:33-35. I think there is a mistake probably. Okay, let me share on the screen. Okay. All right, so you can see here, Gopinam tat patinam cha sarvesham eva dehinam yonantascharati so daksha tride nehe dehabhak. So synonyms, Gopinam, okay, let me read. Okay. Gopinam of the gopis, tat patinam of their husbands, cha and sarvesham of all, eva indeed, dehinam, embodied living beings, ya who, anta within, charati lives, sa he, adhyaksh, the overseeing witness, kridanena, for sport, here in this world, deha is form, bhak, assuming. So the translation is, he who lives as the overseeing witness within the gopis and their husbands, and indeed within all embodied living beings, assume forms in this world to enjoy transcendental pastimes. So now see, what do you understand from this translation? Another alternative is, he who occupies the hearts of the gopis and of their husbands, of all embodied souls, is the internal witness and has assumed a body in this world for entertainment. Okay, so now what is Srila Sridhar Swami's commentary on this? Sridhar Swami says, Having acknowledged that the gopis are wives of other cowards, he refutes it. Now he says, in the case of the Lord, the inner soul is in everyone. There is no such thing as adultery. He who occupies their inside and is the witness of everyone's intelligence, etc., is the same one who assumed a body as entertainment. He is not like any one of us. If he were, a fault could be attributed to him. So, what they are basically saying is that Krishna is actually present in the heart of everyone. He is inside the husband's heart also. And he is also inside the gopi's heart. So, in one sense, where is the immorality? Where is adharma? Because everything is belonging to him only. So the gopis, being the wives of other cowards, is refuted here. Now Vishwanath Thakur, what he says? So by considering all that, given that he is the inner witness in everyone, it cannot be said that someone is completely distant from the Lord. The gist is he occupies their inside. So what is the fault in embracing them outside? So when Krishna is already inside the heart of the gopis, so then what, like how different, what kind of difference it will make if he will embrace the gopis outside? He's already inside. So he is the witness of their intelligence. So what is the fault in looking at their bodies outwardly in private? So in the region of Vraj, because of the entertainment, he served the body of gopis by wiping off the perspiration brought about by the exertion of love. Sanatan Goswami says, thus the gopis are definitely not the wives of others. To accomplish his status as Paramatma, the phrase Sarvesham Eva Dehinam is added. He assumed the manifestation of his divine body as a pastime or because of entertainment. That is for the sake of entertainment. And then finally, Sri Rajiv Goswami. Even after acknowledging that the gopis were wives of other cowards, the fault is repudiated. Such being the case, the label of being unchaste woman does not go away. Thus, they might end up being condemned, unable to tolerate this. Sukhdev Goswami breaks to pieces the idea that the gopis are wives of other men. And Sridhar Swami explains the words. In his commentary, the witness of everyone's intelligence is Paramatma. Consequently, no one is completely distant from him. Hence, who at all might be the wives of others? That said, Krishna does not accept every woman as his wife. So, Achinta Beda Ved. Though the husbands, they once again. Okay. Okay, now Vishwanath Chakrabarty's commentary on the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10:29:8. So what he says, let's go to the words also. Yeah, so let's go directly to the translation. Their husband, father, brothers, and other relatives tried to stop them, but Krishna had already stolen their hearts. Enchanted by the sound of his flute, they refused to turn back. So this is Krishna and the gopis meet for the Rasa dance chapter, 29th, the first chapter of the Rasa Panchadhyay. Okay, so what is Vishwanath Thakur saying here? Let's see. So he says that though the husbands, they tried to stop their wives and the fathers tried to stop their unmarried daughters, they could not dissuade them from going because their very souls had been stolen by Govind. What to speak of the gopis' fear, shame, and self-control? Thus the Vraj gopis moved as if they were in trance, like puppets pulled by strings. How could their husbands, who out of fear of losing their reputation, would ordinarily never allow even the young girls' dead bodies to go alone in the forest at night, tolerate letting their wives go away in such a crazed state? This being true, Krishna's internal potency, Yogamaya, unfolded the entire romantic episode without interference. Yogamaya did this by producing replica bodies of the gopis, who then stayed in their husbands' homes while the original spiritual bodies of gopis ran into the forest to dance with Govinda. So this is what I had shared earlier, and this is Srila Vishwanath Thakur's commentary on verse 10, 29, 8. Okay, so okay, all right. So I think we can stop here now, and we can take any questions or comments, because there are more details. I think it will take another session to complete this, or maybe 2 parts more. So we can stop here now, and of course, I look forward to receive questions, because I believe that devotees may have some confusion also, even after going through. So, all right. Any questions or comments? So is it clear to everyone? Like, are you able to follow, understand? I don't see Sham Rasika Mataji. And Prabhuji also is not there.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanvat Pranam. Thank you so much for this lecture class. The topic is little difficult, so maybe everyone is still in the process to absorb the knowledge. So, but thank you so much. I don't have any question, but I was waiting for the devotees if they have any question.
Okay.
So anybody has any question or comment, please go ahead. I don't think, Prabhuji, nobody has any question or comment.
Okay. So I would like to know if everyone is understanding, following. I hope if that much they can answer, then I will be satisfied.
I'm understanding, Prabhuji, but I have to listen the class again.
Yeah, okay. Other devotees?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you so much for the class. Yes, I'm going to listen to the recording again. So this is a difficult topic. So yeah, Prabhu, thank you so much for explaining it with so many different verses. Appreciate them.
Yeah, okay, no problem. Thanks, Prabhu. You can go through the recording. Maybe you can also go to the first part of the series.
Yes, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Other devotees?
Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji, this is Amritamani Devidasi. Yes, I understood, but there's a lot to digest.
Okay.
I have to go back and hear it again.
Okay. Okay, so let me share certain basic concepts also again. I think what I'm getting some kind of feeling that not everyone is able to digest it. So, okay. So basically, see, the point is that there is no time scale in the spiritual world. Yes, Ipsita Mataji, she has a question or a comment.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I'm this is a little bit hard to understand. Like I want to know more. So, which book should I read? Is it in Krishna book or any other? Which book is it? It's good for reference. So, if you could kindly tell which book can I read?
Yeah, definitely. In fact, I have been sharing directly from the book itself. So, Jai Dharma is the book by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. But of course, it was some basic understanding of
Yes.
Siddhant, okay? And
Okay.
that's why I am trying to explain to our devotees the
Oh,
concept.
I see. So can I get the spelling of the book, because I couldn't understand this, the name again of the book.
Jai Dharma by Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
Jai Dharma.
Jaiva Dharma.
Jaiva Dharma.
Jaiva.
Oh, Daiva Dharma.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Daiva Dharma.
J
Jay
Mataji.
as in jumping.
Jaiva Dharma. Okay, by Bhakti Vinod.
Like we have jivas, so that is jaiva.
Oh, Jaiva Dharma. It was a wonderful class. It is. I always listen to this class. Very, very nice, but it's very hard to grasp everything. So I just want to go over the recording again to to know more, to
Yeah.
listen and to understand this.
Yeah.
And thank you for sharing such details everything. Thank you so much.
That's fine, no problem. It's my service to the devotees. And the other is the commentary by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Sarva Thakur to the Brahma Samhita. And then there is the commentary of Srila Vishwanath Thakur also. So I'm not sure if you'll be able to access all these teachings. And even if you are able to access, still, just by reading them, it will be difficult to understand. But so I'm trying now to explain to you in a layman's language that, see, the thing is that there is no time scale in the spiritual world, and then there is no birth, that old age disease. Okay, so whatever activities in the material world that we are doing, they are all restricted by space and time. And like for example, when we say that time has passed, but that is also relative in one sense, right? Now, what exactly is time? Time is not something that is moving, okay, just moving in nature, in space. Like for example, one can say that, okay, when you measure the movement of the sun, and when the sun passes from one point to another point in a particular space, then that is called time, right? But that is not exactly time, because time is only measured, and it only makes sense when there is deterioration of the physical aspect of our um, appearance in this world, existence, you can say, like the existence. So when physically we deteriorate, then we can say that, okay, time is passing by. Let's say, for example, if there was no physical deterioration, we had eternal youthful age in the material world, then what would have happened? Time would have not played any role. It would have become insignificant, right? So there is no use of time in the material world if things are of eternal nature. If we don't die, if we don't have disease and old age, and if we don't have birth, obviously we have taken, but let's take a very hypothetical situation where we say that we have eternal youthful bodies, we are eternally 16 years or 20 years of age, and there is no question of death and old age and disease to us. Okay, let's assume that. Then what is the meaning of time? Time does not have any value or any meaning to us, even though there may be so many days and nights, and so many months and years that will pass away. But how does it matter to us? So one thing you have to first and foremost to realize is that when we talk about spiritual realm, time has no influence. That we need to understand. That can be understood very easily also from the material perception. Now, another example I can give is that, let's say if you take a flight from Florida to California, okay, and let's assume that the flight takes 3.5 hours to reach from Florida to California. So you start from Florida at around 12 in the noon. What time you will land in California? Question to all the devotees.
Noon only, same time.
Exactly. Noon time, same time. Why? Because time reversed. It actually, instead of moving forward, it has gone in the background. So similarly, when we go from the material realm to the spiritual realm, what is happening? Time goes backward, and it goes to such an extent that it becomes almost nullified. It becomes zero. Now, another example I can give you is Brahmaji's time scale is much more. It is huge time scale compared to our. Like for example, it is mentioned that when Brahma stole the covered boys during the Brahma Vyoman Lila, so it was just a moment for Brahma. When Brahma just went and and after a moment he came back. But in the earthly realm, entire year went away. 1 year passed. And in fact, Krishna's, he was, his age transformed from Komar to Pogam. So that much difference happened in the material realm, just a moment of Brahma's going from one place to another place. Similarly, when we see a mosquito, now the lifespan of mosquito is, compared to our vision, it is maybe probably 20 years, 25 years. But for the mosquito, the lifetime of the mosquito is like maybe 100 years, as good as our lifetime. So even Brahma has got lifespan of 100 years according to his time scale. And that is, the experience is the same. Like the way we feel that we are living 100 years, the same feeling is there for Brahma. Although we know that for Brahma 100 years, it's a, billion of millions of time that is going to pass in the material world, because we know that one day of Brahma corresponds to 1,000 cycles of Divya Yuga that will pass in the material world. So you have got 1,000 cycles of Satyug, Treta, Dwapar and Kalyug, all of them passing away in Brahma's 12 hours of Brahma's day. And then again, there is 12 hours of Brahma night, right? So what is happening? You need to realize that when we go from material world to the spiritual world, time is compressed to the extent that when you enter the spiritual world, now till that point you are in the material world, time will be there. Although the difference of time scale will be huge from our world to Brahma's world. So there will be a huge time span. But when you cross the material realm and enter in the spiritual realm, the entire time frame becomes zero. Because huge amount of time in the material world is just 12 hours of Brahma. So let's say this is, it's this much. And when you go to Brahmalok, it becomes this much. And then when you enter the spiritual world, time will collapse. It will become zero. There is no measurement of time, right? So I hope that you understand this concept. Now, why I am sharing this is because when you enter the spiritual realm, there is no influence of time. And that's why we enter the realm of eternity. And that's why we say that when we, so although we are Nitya Baddhas, eternally we are conditioned. But then when we attain perfection and when we enter Goloka, we become Nitya Siddhas. Now, how is it possible? You are saying that you are Nitya Baddha. Nitya means eternally you are conditioned. And at the same time, when you attain perfection, you are saying that you become eternally perfect. Right? So how do we adjust that? And that means what is happening here is there is no beginning point of time when we came to this material world. Anad karma is anadi, which means that there is no starting point for karma. Karma is always there with us. It is stick to us. But karma can be destroyed and we can go back to Godhead. We can get liberation. So when we say anadi, so it does not have beginning, but it does not mean that karma will last eternally for us. It will never be vanquished. Okay, that we don't say. Then of course, then we are always rotting in the material world eternally. But when we are saying that, okay, when you practice bhakti, then you go back to Godhead, that means at some point of time your karma will be destroyed, and that point you will go back to the spiritual world. So although in the past the time scale is eternal, there is no point at which we came to the material world. There is no point at which karma was created. So that in the past the time scale was eternal, but in the future it can be destroyed and we can go back to what it. Now that's why it is called as Nitya Baddha. Why? Because you cannot trace out the time in the past. So it's a infinite time running into the past. And that's why it is Nitya Baddha, eternally conditioned. But as soon as you go to the spiritual world, as I was sharing with you, that the time scale becomes itself zero. So there is no measurement of time. And that's why you experience that you were always in the spiritual world, because there is no time. So it seems that you were there, you just had a thought, and then you opened your eyes and you were there. So I hope you are able to understand this. There is no time scale in the spiritual world. That's why eternally Nityavadda and Nitya Siddha. So one who is perfected, he will feel that I am eternally in the spiritual world, because he cannot trace when did I come from material world to the spiritual world, because there is no time in the spiritual world. And then because there is no time, everything is present in the spiritual world. So in the material world, you had past, you had present, you have present, and then you have a future. But in the spiritual world, everything is present. There is no future, there is no past. Why? Time is absent. So does it make sense? Like, are you getting this? This is connected to what we are discussing, actually. It will help you to understand in a much relatable way. Are you able to follow?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. Other devotees?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Yes, so we won't feel the death then, that it went over us. We'll be transformed to the spiritual realm, and we will forget whatever has in the material world, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, see, the thing is that first of all, you will feel that you were always in the spiritual world. What to speak of thoughts of material world?
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. So that's why it is called as Nitya Siddh.
Mm.
Correct?
Yes.
So basically, you can say that the entire material world experience is like a dream for us.
Mm.
Like you are in the spiritual world, and that's why Prabhupada
Yes.
said that we are with Krishna in the spiritual world, and we came from there. Right?
Mm.
So
Yes.
in one sense, you will feel that you were dreaming about something.
Mm.
And because, see, now, okay, so why so many lifetimes in the material world? Just for a small thought in the spiritual world? Because now you go the other way around. When we went from the material world to the spiritual world, time went backwards, right?
Mm.
Now, when you
Yes.
come from spiritual world to the material world, time will move forward.
Mm.
So it will
Yes.
basically, time will expand.
Mm.
And that's why you feel that, oh, you have taken so many lifetimes. You have been rotating in the material world since a long time.
Mm. Mm.
So that's a dream in the spiritual world. Now that spiritual world
Mm.
dream is equivalent to millions of lifetimes in the material world.
Mm.
So you get that experience,
Mm.
right?
It's like a journey. It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
Yeah. So with
Mm.
this same kind of concept,
Mm.
when the gopis are in the spiritual world, so they have a thought, they have a conception that I am I am belonging. So I have got married to someone else, some coward boy.
Mm.
I am married to that. Now, because everything in the spiritual world is eternal,
Mm.
okay, everything is present. So that's why the conception also remains present all the time.
Mm.
The thought that is manifested at that point of time, it is eternally there,
Mm.
because everything is present. There is no future. There is no
Mm.
past in the spiritual world.
We always live in the present. Always in the present. That means.
Exactly.
Mm.
Because no influence of time. Of course,
Mm.
now in Krishna Lok, there is also the movement of the sun and the moon, but that is just for pastime purpose. Like we
Mm.
have a particular time series of Krishna where he is enacting his pastimes. Like for example, in the morning he gets up, he will have breakfast in the morning. He will go to the cows, and then he will, have some exchanges with the cows,
Mm.
and then he'll
Mm.
come back home, and then he will go to
Mm.
the forest with his friends. So that is all divided based on time. But that time is only to make Krishna uh, taste and experience different rasas with his devotees at different points of time. That's it.
Mm.
It's not going to, there's no deterioration in the spiritual realm.
Mm.
There's no birth, death, old age, disease.
Mm.
So that's why everything is present. And that's how the Lord also, when, like, for example, one question is that, okay, how does the Lord know the future of all living entities? Someone can question. If he knows the future, that means he's a controller, like he's a dictator. Everything is, he decides and everything is arranged by his desire. No, it is not like that. Because the Lord is always present, he's always in his present situation. Future for the living entities in the material world, but for him there is no future in the spiritual world. So it is very much possible for the Lord that there is, the past activities, the present activities, and the future activities in the material world, they are all compressed to a single point in the spiritual world. So he is always in the present. So he knows everything. That's why he knows everything.
Thank you so much for explaining. Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah. So I hope you're able to understand.
Yes, I'm getting it. So I'll go over that book and the chapter, which is the chapter that you're discussing right now in that book.
Yeah. So this chapter is chapter number 35, 36.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes, I'll go over that chapter then. Okay.
Yeah.
That will clear, Yeah, I hear your recording a couple of times and also go over the chapter. That will help me.
Okay, one second.
Really
the chapter,
understand.
one second. Let me confirm the chapter number. Okay, yeah. So it starts with, so basically what I've done is relevant portions of the book I've collected. So there it starts with chapter number 31. And then, okay, let me do one thing. If you wish, I can share the notes with you.
Oh, I would love that. Thank you so much.
Then
I
you
would
will not
really
have to go here and there.
That will help me. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. It really is going to help us to look forward with our life.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So, okay. Any other devotees? They have any comments or any questions? Yeah. Okay. So this is the way the conception becomes a reality in the spiritual world. Whatever they think, that manifests for them in reality, like that. But of course, we cannot see and understand it because we are always seeing from the point of time and space.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. So tomorrow also you have class, so
Oh, yeah,
we can
yeah.
continue here. Yeah, yes, Prabhuji. So thank you so much.
So thank you all the devotees for joining. Hare Krishna, Dhamma Prabhu, everyone.
Panchaकृपतर्व्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यश्च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय। नमः ठाकुर की जय। ग्रंथ श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय।